I think so.
We've got an interesting next guest, a former governor of Virginia, a former mayor of Richmond, a former lieutenant governor of Virginia, somebody who made history there. It is Doug Wilder, a longtime Democrat. Governor Wilder, first of all, it's good to see you. You look great. I really am glad to have you here. And I don't know if you caught our coverage about 2 minutes ago when I was walking through sort of the simplest explanation of what I think happened here in Virginia. Rural turnout in the red areas, huge, and the Democratic turnout languishing a little bit. What do you see, sir?
I heard it and didn't see it, but it's good to be with you, Chuck, and Kristen, to both of you. But I have said this, Chuck, and you know I've said it on a number of occasions, but I repeated it this time. No Democrat is going to win a statewide office in Virginia without strong African-American support. That's just simple as that. Now, why? Because it's a fact. Now, that being the fact, then you get to the next question. What did Terry McAuliffe do to earn that vote, to earn that support? And I've asked that question on any numbers of occasions. You do know that Terry McAuliffe was the first person to call for the resignation of everybody because of blackface. So that's race insinuated into the equation. The lieutenant governor was black. Terry McAuliffe called for him to resign, said he was guilty without saying guilty, but as the governor of the state, you're going to not believe in due process of law. The man hadn't been tried for anything, nor charged with anything. And so when you said the two of them had to resign because of blackface, then you turn around and run with one of them as your attorney general, and then at Mark Herring, and then you seek the endorsement of the other. And then when the real question comes up as it relates to historical black colleges and universities, what did you do when you had an opportunity as governor before? So little. And what are you going to do now? Not even mentioned. Glenn Youngkin, on the other hand, said any budget that he puts in is going to have monies and funding for historical black colleges and universities. And he said that publicly everywhere he went. Now, the message that people were looking for was relativity. What did you do before? Well, the only thing that I heard McAuliffe speak much about was that he was made famous his getting the expansion of Medicaid. Well, that was done by a person who was a lieutenant governor who broke the tie vote. But for Justin Fairfax's tie vote, we would not have had Medicaid expansion. So take that away. And I watched you, Chuck, when you were questioning McAuliffe on your show. And I saw how he hardly answered your question that was not just rude, but almost, how dare you ask me this, right? And you were very polite, you were very kind, as you usually are. But so you come away from that by saying, if you're not going to answer this person's questions, you're not making a case known to the public, and I'm not asking you, no, Kristen, to tell me what it is that he could say to the black community that they should vote for him for because you couldn't provide it. But I would say that that message was resonating in the communities. They couldn't find anything that motivated them to the point, and I listened to you go through the makeup of the counties and the areas. Sure, it was down, continuingly down. I saw it, I knew it. Glenn Youngkin called on a regular basis to try to find out from people what was going on. The unfortunate
That's interesting. So, Governor, wait, let me back up there. It sounds like Glenn Youngkin wooed you a bit more than Terry McAuliffe did. Did you hear more from Youngkin over the last 6 months than you did McAuliffe?
It's a matter of wooing. McAuliffe, when he decided he was going to run for office, he called and said that, I just want you to know I'm back in the saddle, and I will catch up with you. That was the only time I've ever heard from him, and I haven't heard another word from him. Youngkin, on the other hand, called regularly to ask certain things, particularly about HBCUs and funding for them and what was possible and what could take place. I endorse no one because, as you know, I'm at the Wilder School of Government and Public Affairs at Virginia Commonwealth, And we do polling. Our poll was the very first poll that came out to show that it was a 3-point difference, that it was within the percentage point of error, that's plus a 5. And so I don't know that there ever was any commitment made to satisfy the concerns or the questions. Because when people would ask me, I would say, I don't know, I don't have any communication. He didn't have to call me, he didn't need me. But the point is, he needed to establish communication with the people, and that never took place.
Governor, big picture,
Yes.
if you are the White House, if you're Democrats, if you're watching this race, what should you be taking from it right now? And I've been talking to White House officials who say, this is Terry McAuliffe's race. This has nothing to do with the Biden agenda. What do you think Democrats should be taking from this right now?
Well, Kirsten, I watch you when you ask those questions in the White House press conferences. I think Joe Biden has got to make some understanding and a commitment as to what he is going to be doing for that community of people as it relates to infrastructure, as it relates to spending, as it relates to health. Education is always a #1 priority. If I were concerned with at the national level, you've got to say, well, Joe Biden, you haven't dealt with the issue at the border. Your vice president hasn't dealt with that issue at the border. Tell me, what is it that can be the thing that would make people want to see Democrats continue? It's not a good thing to lose Virginia. And you know, Chuck, you live here. The Virginia people have come from everywhere. Many people come and work in Washington, and they live in Virginia. They know Virginians. It's a very proud people. And so that resonates across the country. The issue is, what is it that you can speak to of a unifying nature at the national level to make people recognize that Trump is gone. He may never come back. Run for something else other than being anti-Trump. And that's another of the things that I think that McAuliffe fastened too much on. Trump is not running on this ticket. He wasn't around.
Doug Wilder, it's always great to get your perspective, because one thing you never do is pull a punch, talk it straight.
You either.
And it's exactly why I wanted to talk to you tonight. I just had a feeling. Well, I knew where things were headed, and I knew you had a lot to say.
Well, you're very kind, both of you. And Chuck, keep doing it like you've been doing it. And Kirsten, I'm going to be watching you.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Well, we now want to bring in Cornell Belcher, Democratic pollster and MSNBC political analyst. And also with us is Kristen Stoltis Anderson, Republican pollster and